Training to be a street cop.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Street Cop Training Podcast. I have with me today Walter Mackel. He is a true hero, a U.S. Marine veteran, police sergeant, has a phenomenal story. I was fortunate to meet Walter about 2 years ago at one of our training events where he wobbled in on a cane being escorted by his sheriff. And was that your sheriff?
That was our SWAT commander.
All right, SWAT commander. He was coming in, hobbling in, and I'll never forget the words. I was like, man, it's really good to meet you. And you went, I came here to see you. I wanted to meet you. And I'm like, me? You're the one who just got smoked and is wobbling back into this place. So I was super impressed with his resiliency. And that's a common theme we're seeing with every police officer who goes through this kind of event. So, dude, why don't you just give us the beginning of where you're from, and again, redact any information you can't talk about. I'm sure the case is disposed of now at this point, right?
Case is over.
Okay, so you can talk a lot. Okay, cool. So let's go into who you are, where you grew up, maybe after high school life, your time in the military, and then we'll talk about your time at the sheriff's office, and then we'll start getting into the event that occurred. That anytime we talk about this stuff, people find real value because a lot of nuggets just come to the surface of things you've been through that not a lot of people have been through that you can offer advice to people. So I got a funny feeling knowing you personally. We're friends on Facebook. You outnumber my children by quite a bit, which is crazy because people think I'm crazy. Walter's got like 18 children. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Are you Mormon?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay, well, you probably looks like you're going to convert soon so you can fit in with some other folks that are like your type. Well, you know what I mean? You know what a condom is?
It's all about the same woman. So, I mean,
listen, you can try to justify whatever you want. Man, I can tell your holidays will be packed from this point forward. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Walter Mackel. Hi, Walter.
What's going on, my man?
All right, so again, give me the skinny. Tell me about after high school, your service, your deployments, and then we'll get back to work here.
Okay, well, I graduated Natchez High School 2004. My dad retired a couple of years after I got out. I got out of high school. He's a retired police officer. 37 years. He was a homicide detective.
Where did he work? Where'd your father work? New Orleans?
Natchez Police Department.
Okay.
Rich from Natchez, Mississippi.
Okay.
And so he started out in the late 70s. As a patrol officer, working narcotics when the dope game started getting big, and ended up going over to investigation where he retired as a constable and at the sheriff's office. So, but I was too young to get in law enforcement, so I went to the military right out of high school. So, joined the Navy, went to Navy Corps School, ended up going to field med to Greenside with the Marines. Was fortunate enough to have a couple of deployments. 2009, 2010 deployed to Afghanistan
You deployed with Dakota, right? You were deployed with Dakota High, right?
Yes, we were in the same unit. Yes, we were. So we went to Afghanistan, and you guys heard the whole story of, the Ganjagal Valley. Those are true heroes, those guys. Those are true heroes, those guys out there doing the thing. So it was a very dark day for us, but, especially with the light of everything that's going on right now. But those are my heroes, where, the guys we lost over there.
Yeah.
But finished up my tour as soon as I got out of the military. Started working at Natchez Police Department in Natchez, Mississippi. Worked there for about a year. Was offered a job at the Adams County Sheriff's Office. Ended up going over there as a patrol deputy. I was on the road for maybe a year. Went to narcotics and worked narcotics there for about 7 years. Was offered a job in Concordia Parish, and I've been there for the past 3 years. So
that's awesome, man. And I know now you're a sergeant, right?
Yes, sir. That is correct. Took long enough.
Good for you, man. Congrats on the promotion.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So let's go into the series of events that unfolded prior to me. It was crazy, man. I'll never forget seeing the article of you online, knowing I was coming to that area in a couple days, and going and checking the roster and saying to my cousin who worked here, she still works here. At that time, there was not many people who worked at the company. And I said, holy fuck, this guy's in my class. This guy's in my class in like a week. It was crazy, man. And that's kind of the surreal side of doing the things that I do is I get to meet a lot of people, and there are names that unfortunately have on rosters that are no longer with us. But I'm glad to say that you have done quite well. You look really good. Now, go through that day, and let's go over some things that you went through that day. Do you have any? I always ask this question. Do you have any kind of weird feeling or intuition that something was going to be fucking wrong?
That day is. We worked 5 and 2s, and it was like a short week. And it was, I believe it was a Thursday. Yeah, it was a Thursday. And, we was thinking one of my kids' birthday was that weekend. And so
well, you got a kid who has a birthday every weekend, so.
Pretty much, yeah. And so, my wife and I, we were just ironing out the details of, we was, going to the water park and stuff like that to take my son for his birthday. And it was a eerily quiet, I said it, quiet day. It's day shift. It's Thursday. We're trying to get this our Friday. We're trying to get everything knocked out so we can get to the house. And, the shooting occurred right across from the sheriff's office. And just finished up a report. My lieutenant called me and said, hey, we finna go eat. You want to meet up with us? I said, sure, on the way. Pulled out of the parking lot. And it's so surreal because as I'm pulling out the parking lot, this whole, incident is unfolding. We get a call about an armed robbery in progress at an apartment complex. And so when the dispatcher gives out the address and the name of the apartment, I'm looking at it. So there it is right there. So she dispatched it to another deputy, but I'm like, there's someone right on top of it. Got a clothing description, and she was like white male, wife beater, black shorts, slides, and a long gun. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be fun. So spin around, made contact with the complainant. She advised, he took off running. The deputy who was responding, he was like, K9 guys. So we just immediately set up a cordon in the area. So got the area shut down. We tracked the dog, tracked with the dog. We went to start pulling surveillance footages and stuff like that and trying to find out where this guy went to. And that's when we got a phone call. Hey, he's in this apartment. So we all mustered up, we go to the apartment, complex that he was at. From what we were told, he robbed this chick, she had 2 babies, she had like 2 small babies, and he, pulled a gun on her and the kids, while she was going to the mailbox. It shows the degree of this guy, just, what kind of person he was, to rob a woman in front of her, with 2 babies. Mm-hmm. And so we weren't going to sleep until we actually got this guy in custody. So we found out the apartment complex that he was at, saying, hey, he's in there. We know he's in there. We was under assumption that he had taken a hostage. So exigent circumstance and stuff like that, we stacked up on the door, and before, me getting out, I always been point man, and I grabbed my shotgun. So stacked up on the door, we breached the door, and all hell broke loose. It happened so fast. I know we breached the door, and the entire apartment complex was dark. So the first thing I seen was him backlit through the bathroom, and just see him grimacing as he's, pulling the trigger. And it's just like, oh shit, this is going down. It's going out right now. And at that time, I was already, at the ready, and we pretty much exchanged gunfire at the exact same time. He shot me, I shot him. I remember my body going completely numb. It felt like somebody poured hot grits all on my ass. I knew something was wrong because I couldn't catch my breath.
Damn.
So I remember falling, my guys, trying to pull me out the doorway. My other guy, his name is David Washington, who was actually, he came to work for us, but he was my FTO when I was at Natchez PD. And David's a big guy. And I'm a big guy too. David literally picked me up and threw me, other side of the parking lot, into the hands of Tony Godbow, which in turn took me behind my patrol car for cover. Like I say, still couldn't get my breath. Like, man, this don't feel right. Something's going on. And I was like, he, takes my shirt off, and I'm asking him, dude, am I hit? Am I hit? And he was like, yeah, you hit. And I just feel his hand go right here, and I'm like, well, shit, that's not good. And he said, oh, you're gonna be okay. And he doubles back. He's like, Mac, he's hit bad. He's hit bad. And I'm like, motherfucker, I hear you. So that's when I stood up. I was like, all right, it's time to go. I said, get me in the unit and get me to the hospital. And so they threw me in the back of my patrol car. And, we started on the way to the hospital. And I just remember on the way to the hospital, it was like, oh, shit, if you don't die, your wife's going to kick your ass. Because my wife was pregnant with, our youngest son, Robert. And so that the whole 5 minutes it took us to get to the hospital, I'm just starting to think about it. It's like, did this just happen? Is this a bad dream? And it was real. And I just started making my peace. I was like, well, kind of done it now. So I just started making my peace and, was looking for my phone, to call my wife, because if she was going to hear it, I want her to hear from me. But something told me that she kind of already knew what was going on. So I was like, it is what it is. We pulled up to the hospital. My lieutenant and the other guy, the patrolman was with me, to go me to pull me out of the car. And, where the gunshot was, which hit me in the chest right here, skimmed under my vest. And I said, dude, I know it's a bad shot. I said, I may not walk out of here, but I'm damn sure I'm going to walk my ass in this emergency room. And so I walked in the ER and, working, as an EMT and working in, law enforcement, all the nurses and doctors and stuff like that. Plus, it's a small town. And I was like, I've been shot. And it's like, quit fucking joking. I said, no, dead ass serious. And they get me in the trauma room and start working on me. And that's when that adrenaline dump just kind of came down. Immediately my lungs started collapsing. They got me in the CT scan. I was there long enough to see my sheriff, my wife, and they put me on a helicopter and flew me out to Jackson, Mississippi, to University of Mississippi Medical Center. So we get there. There was like the whole Pearl, Rankin, Madison interdiction guys, were up there waiting on me. John Johnson was up there. Sean Predazzi was, there. It's like all the Pearl guys, Rankin and Madison County guys were up there. My wife, she gets up there eventually before I went to surgery. The doctors pretty much told us, your husband is lucky to be alive. And he's lucky he's not paralyzed. So the bullet, it went into my chest. It tore my left lung. It tore my diaphragm up. It hit my kidney. It hit my pancreas. It hit my spleen. It nicked my liver. It pretty much pinball. And it's lodged 10 centimeters from my spinal cord right now.
It's still in there?
It's still in there. Yeah.
What kind of round was it?
It's a 22.
Damn.
Yeah. So,
let me go back for a second. You said that you made your peace. What did that mean?
I just, just made my peace, and whatever's going to happen is out of my hands. And I had to accept that real quick. And to be honest with you, I kind of made my peace at the age of 18 when I joined the military. You're in this job, you know what you're getting yourself into. And so I was just pretty much made my peace. Like, whatever's going to be, what's going to happen is going to happen. And I'm okay with it. So.
Were you talking to God at that time?
Oh, yes. I was praying.
Yeah.
I was praying.
What are some of the thoughts that were going through your head?
My wife was pregnant at the time. I was just like, well, I'm not gonna see my son. My wife's pregnant with my son, and not gonna see him. My other kids, how it's gonna I'm leaving behind a widow, 7 kids. My daughters, my sons, my family, my department. All this stuff was going through my head. And I was just hoping that they understood that what I did wasn't in vain, So.
Okay, good stuff to hear. Let me ask you this: as far as like, were you guys prepared? I know it wasn't like a SWAT setup, right? You guys aren't SWAT trained. You had to go in and make entry. You had no choice. You had exigent circumstances. We got to catch this guy. Uh, what do you think could have been done differently or better? That's the first thing I got to ask you.
This guy's mentality, he was gonna come out shooting either way.
By the way, is he alive? Is he alive?
No, he's dead. He's no
Oh,
longer
good for him.
walking. Sir.
All right, good. Was it your round that took his life?
Yes, sir. He shot it. He actually shot himself in the head with 22, but it deflected off his skull and went into his sinus cavity. So he ultimately bled out from a 12-gauge slug to the femur.
Okay, interesting. Well, good. He got what he deserved.
Pretty much.
Looks like we won that day, right?
That's correct. He actually killed his stepdad. He just got out of prison. He did 5 years. He shot and killed his stepdad at 15 years old, did 5 years, got out and committed this act against us.
Wild. So, as far as like, do you guys think you were medically prepared to handle somebody with a gunshot wound? Do you guys have IFAC kits and all that stuff?
Oh, yes. We had IFAC kits at the time. It was pretty much could have been a sucking chest wound. Like I say, Tony Galbo, Robert Walker, all those guys were superb. Robert Walker is actually an EMT. He's also an Army veteran. Our SWAT medic, Tim Houghton, he's the regional manager of AMR, American Medical Response, and he teaches, all this in combat lifesavers, TCCC and stuff like that. And like I say, I was a Navy corpsman too with the Marines. So, I mean, everything we can teach these guys to save lives, we do it. So pretty much that thing was, stop the bleeding, start the breathing, treat for shock, and get to a hospital.
So. Oh boy. Hey, you know what? It's so funny, and I've talked about this in previous podcasts. We have a guy who teaches tactical medical, right? And again, we're followed with TCC. I want to do something a little different. He's trained in all that shit. What I wanted to do is, because cops equal medical stuff to, but because it's in the academy, it's brutally boring. But in real life, this is part of the gig, man. And I find it very interesting that people downplay the importance of knowing how to treat medical situations as a police officer. I mean, and you've got to take it seriously. And it could be anybody at any time. This is a day shift call, right?
The day shift call. Sure was.
So, a lot of guys on day shift are like retired on duty. They think that this shit's not going to happen to them. And I got to tell you, there'd be times I'd be working off duty during day shift hours. I worked afternoons pretty much my whole career. And I mean, I would hear these serious calls coming out and know who was responding to them. These guys who literally were showing up for a paycheck, showing up and took day shifts so they could work part-time at night before they come back the next day. It was just a job to them. But the stark reality of this job is that you may be faced with something very, very seriously. And I got to tell you, a lot of times, rotating schedules, a lot of the senior guys will go to day shifts. And, they're not taking things seriously. And by the way, I'm not here to cast judgment or sling mud in their direction. I think there's got to be a reminder for these people that you are a police officer. You do need this training. You do need to take it seriously because your life or the life of somebody else may depend on it. So you just lucked out that you had the right guys there with you.
That's correct. And we're a very rural department. We cover 700 square miles, and we're a small department. We maybe have, if lucky, I say 4 deputies on the shift. And we respond to some bad stuff out here. And so a lot of deputies are cross-trained in a lot of things. I mean, we have like 3 other firefighters, including myself, a couple of guys, first aid, CPR, EMTs, because we're always the first one to get to these bad calls.
And bro, you must love your community, I imagine, just the way I could just feel it.
Oh, my community is awesome, man. I mean, before the shooting occurred and even after, I mean, they showed so much love, and they're very pro-police down here, and they love their cops.
They're very pro-police everywhere. It's just that they try to find these little fucking stories and blow it up here and there. Everybody, 99.9% of this country is pro-police, and you got guys who are listening to this from California going, "That's not true." I'm telling you, folks. Like, they always, California's different. Maybe so. I don't have familiarity with it, but I do travel this country. And I got to tell you, I wear the shirt that I wear at the logo when I teach. I've never had somebody say to me like, "Yo, fuck you," or like, I get that happens with some people, but I just want to remind everybody, don't be jaded. People overall really, really like the police. I mean, a far majority of folks, stop looking at what you see on CNN and Fox News and these propaganda bills. They're just as guilty as one another. Nobody has an excuse for doing what they do. But, going through something like this or go anywhere, and there's a lot of love. I mean, again, I get you work in South Chicago. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of trouble there, and they're not really fond of the police. You work at the NYPD in certain areas, sure. But I got to tell you, you go to Staten Island, one of the 5 boroughs, because I have family there, and I find myself there at times. Brother, they got blue ribbons everywhere. They want to carry my uncles out there are like, man, I see any NYPD, I buy them coffee, they take care of them on Staten Island. Now you go over to another borough, it's a different story. Yeah. But yeah, man, even those guys who are getting the shit beat out of, we saw during these bullshit protests in Philadelphia, people had enough, and the South Philly people showed up and started protecting the cops. Mm-hmm. They were like, and you could tell the cops appreciated it, but they also couldn't let the Antifa people get killed. So they're like, all right, kind of stop everybody. Just one rock.
They'd have one rock.
Yeah, throw one rock.
Look at what's going on.
So, that's just a good point to make to everybody. Now, I didn't mean to interrupt you, dude. I don't want to lose some important points that I'm trying to dig up out of you. So you had this great community, this wonderful thing. The facility that you went to, I'm assuming they weren't prepared or very experienced in major trauma like a gunshot. So they stabilized you and shipped you out.
Yeah, the first hospital I went to, that's like, I get them on a bird, get them out of here. So
yeah, because they don't know what to do, right? And it's fine. And actually, I'm not picking at them because it's a very admirable thing that they recognize that they need to get you somewhere you get the appropriate help. It's not what they're designed to do. Just like anything else, there's specialized trauma centers. So when you flew out to the place in Mississippi, the other place, they were more specialized in gunshots.
Yes, sir. It's I don't know if you ever heard of Jackson, Mississippi, where they have like 100 gunshots. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what we went to. And those doctors, those nurses, they were outstanding. I'll tell you that.
That's great, man. Took care of you nice, huh?
Definitely, most definitely. I mean, how you look.
Were you up during the whole incident as you were getting treated medically?
Yeah, I was coherent through the whole thing until they started wanting to throw catheters in and stuff like that. I said, hold up, that's why I draw the line. So I was conscious all the way until I got to Jackson, and I think that's when all those, because I was hurting bad, and they had me, high. But like I said, when I got to the hospital, I remember John trying to take my contacts out of my eye and stuff like that, and Lindley and stuff, consoling me and stuff like that, trying to take my contacts out of my eyes. And after that, I don't remember nothing. It was all a fog.
So then you wake up and then what?
Well, when I woke up once and recovered, and I think that's when I seen my wife for the first time, and she kissed me, and I went back under. Went back to sleep, and I woke up, and I was in my room. He's gonna kill me when I tell this. I looked to the left and I looked down and see Sean for Daisy down on the left side of my bed.
Oh, that's funny, bro. If everybody listening and doesn't know, Sean Pardesi's about 4'3".
So, Sean and all those guys, they were all in my room and stuff like that. Man, that's why I knew it wasn't a dream. I knew it was real. But
imagine waking up from a gunshot wound and the first face you see is Sean Pardesi. I mean, it couldn't be an attractive, tall, blonde woman. It's got to be Sean Pardesi.
I usually like,
hears this too.
Hey man, you okay? You're all right? What are you doing here? What you doing in my room? Where am I?
I just spoke at the MVCI last week in San Antonio, and I think one of my jokes was, I'm like, yeah, you don't know me, but I'm twice the size of Pardesi, or something like that, right? So I love that guy. He's actually gonna be up here next week, and then he's gonna be speaker at our event as well, the Street Cop Conference. So he'll be there.
Okay, yeah. I think he made a joke. Yes, I am.
Oh, that's good, man. Well, listen, I'm gonna piece you up with Dakota. He'll be there. He'll be hanging out for quite a bit. You get to rekindle your old flames.
Yeah, we've been like, because he's a very busy guy. We shoot text me, hey man, how you doing and stuff like that. And so we're looking forward to. I mean, it's been 10 years, man, since I've seen this guy. And so
it's great, man. That's awesome. So you finally wake up and then your wife's there. What are some things that she went through? How did they make a notification to her?
How social media is crazy, man, because how she found out was somebody called her and said your husband was shot. And
God
she was,
damn.
and she just hit the floor, and like that's the real truth with her. I mean, that's my backbone. I
know you're very close to your wife, dude.
Yes. And I can't imagine her going through what she went through. And not only that, but my sister. And like I say, my dad. I see my dad cry twice. And that's when my mother passed away and when I was getting loaded up in that helicopter.
Damn. You sure, dude? You're a father of 16. I always tell people it's very comical. I'm a very emotionally controlled person. I actually hear I'm going to get a heart monitor. I tell them I'm going to wear it for a week. I'm going to bring it back to a doctor and watch the results. I mean, I'm just smooth sailing. My shit don't spike at all, right? Now having kids, the emotions that I feel are insane. Recently, I was on a plane and a gentleman sent me a message and asked if he could post a GoFundMe for his daughter, who was 7 years old and is not well, terminally ill. Or trying to get recovered, whatever it might be. Hopefully not terminal. Bro, I'm on the plane flying into San Antonio. I mean, I'm literally hoping that the people next to me don't look, but I got tears coming out of my eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, dude? So I think I'd say it sound cliche, but something happens to men who take care of their family, who prioritize them and come this close within a stroke of losing their life. So if this isn't a wake-up call for everybody to consider it, if not for yourself, for your family, to get the kind of training, have the right equipment with you, and think about what you're doing. We're doing the best we can. We're going as fast as we can. We're trying to employ as many people as we can to try to get this training and this knowledge out there. There's a lot that goes into this. I know people want more and more of it, but we're doing our best. We're really trying. We also have lives too. We also have things that happen in our lives that are unprecedented, or we don't expect it. They're unexpected things that go on, and that's everybody here in this office and all of our instructors and the world itself as well. So your wife found out through somebody. Did you guys have a plan in place at your agency for if this occurred, how a notification would be made?
They did. At the time, my sheriff was on his way from out of town, and when they heard about the shooting, everybody just started going. Yeah. But they were sending my lieutenant to go get her, and when he was walking out, she was walking in the emergency room. So I mean, that's just small town. So, but before he can even go out and get her, she was already at the hospital.
That's good, man. What about your kids?
My kids, man, I tell you, they some troopers, man. My kids been through a lot.
Sure.
They've been through a lot, and especially what they was very traumatic for them. And my youngest who didn't really understand what was going on, especially my younger son, Walter. He was a baby. And so all he knows is dad's sick. My daughter, it really tore her up. It tore all my kids up. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a realization for them, and I tell them, hey, dad's going to work, dad's coming back. And I think it kind of hit them that, every time my dad walks out this door, it's a possibility he don't come back. Like my younger son, Robert, he didn't want me to go down here. He's not even 2 years old. He closed the door and tells me no. But every time I walk out the door, I make sure, I hug all my kids. I hug my wife. I tell I love her. I tell them I love them. And I tell them coming back home.
I think it's a good lesson that people have to know that even if you're having some kind of disagreement with your significant others or your family, you put that shit to the side when you walk out the door going to work and say, you know what? We can continue to fucking argue when I get home, or we continue to fight when you get home, or this, but I'm going to work and I might not come back. Let's put that shit to the side. We know we still love each other. It's a good lesson for people there,
Yeah, that's very true, man. I'd harp on that, make your peace, because you may not have the time to make that peace, may not have it, to say, hey, I'm sorry we arguing. And most of the time, this job is all some petty stuff anyway. It's all some petty shit. Hey, listen, I love you, and I'll see you when I get home. So,
Tell me about your recovery.
Ooh, I had to get out of the house, man. Anybody knows me, I'm catching, chasing butterflies. It was hard for me to stay at the house. I'm sitting up here, I'm hurting. I'm up here watching TV, playing Call of Duty, playing Grand, trying to stay busy. I got this tube in my stomach. And I've been very independent for the most part of my life, but, to have my aunts and my wife, change my dressing, help me to the bathroom, bathe me. I couldn't even walk 4 feet because I was, out of breath. My lung was fucking shot. And it was my independence, and on the way to the on the way from the hospital, my wife was driving me and she's just sitting there looking. And I'm looking at her and she's like, "So what do we do now?" I said, "Well, what you mean?" She said, you gonna get out of this?" I was like, "Fuck no." I said, "The worst shit didn't happen." And she was like, "So after all this, you going back?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, why?" I said, "Because if I don't go back," I said, "this fucker, he still wins."
Right.
He still wins. Even though he's there, he wins. He took that from me. And I'm not finna let him take. I mean, I can't be an underwear model no more, but I'm not finna let him take a job that I've been wanting to do since I was 3 years old away from me. I'm not finna do that.
And one that you're happy and good at and all those and all that stuff. Dude, let's face facts. The law of attraction, right? We all magnetize to each other because we're all cut from the same cloth. You're a cop's cop. I hate to put our twist on it, but you're a street cop, right? Like, I mean, people like us do things like this. There's not everybody's attracted to this company, but the people who are for a reason. We're the cut above the rest. And we're trying to do what we can to say, hey, you have other people out here who are your family, who are just like you. And it's okay to be the 10 to 15% that take this fucking job, to go out and do this fucking job. And I can understand that. I probably would be in the same boat. I couldn't speak because I'm thankful that I was able to go through the career that I had without experiencing anything like that. Did you have any bouts with depression or anything like that?
I did. I did. It was, and it's still some things that I kind of deal with today. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I had PTSD before I came into law enforcement, but it's only bad when I'm losing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I'm winning, it's a good dream. But I mean, it's always in the back of your head that, hey, this shit can happen again. And it could. I mean, it can happen as soon as, I mean, we down here in Livingston Parish on the other side of West Baton Rouge, over here on the other side of Chris Green's territory. And I mean, it can happen to any second. So the biggest thing that I took from it, never, ever, ever, ever be complacent. Ever be complacent. And I think that's one thing that, saved my ass and my guys' ass, on July 25th.
If I'm being too intrusive, you could tell me, you could just tell me you don't want to talk about that. But the reason I ask about depression is because that seems to be an underlying factor that occurs to somebody when they're injured in the line of duty, especially shot. And I've been interviewing a lot of people who've been shot. I'm not saying just shot, but we're not talking about people who've had, some kind of trauma due to something else, but like this thing that we're all fucking thinking about all the time, and that's getting shot and killed in the line of duty. It's just how you built as a police officer. I ask these questions because I want others to know and get prepared for when this comes, with the intention of saving future lives. We had a guy on not too long ago who talked about he bought the gun to do it with. You don't have to tell me you went that far, but he was close. And there were things that helped him. Oddly enough, Tim Kennedy, who I'm going to introduce him to when we get to the conference, was somebody that said in one of his videos, get up, take a shower, get dressed, put nice clothes on. There's simple things like that. So recognizing that you're not well is okay, but you've got to be able to recognize when you're not well and ask for help. I can't emphasize that enough. And guys think they're ashamed of that, but you will know if something's not correct. And we can't emphasize that enough. People say, well, how can you, Walter, people say, you guys seem to be getting into the one mental health thing a bit. And I tell people, my intention when I started this company, which has grown to many intentions, but my intention was to help cops. that is a very big piece of helping cops, is helping cops not just physically and with training and tactfulness, but it is with mental health. It's a big thing that's not spoken about. And I'm sure if you're paying attention, you'd see that we're addressing a lot of that shit now. So what advice could you give to somebody going through PTSD or dealing with a traumatic incident that maybe they can relate to you a little bit?
My first thing is, all you, leadership, sergeant above. The biggest thing is knowing your guys. That you got a subordinate come in like, hey, Jim's fucked up. Hey, man, what's going on? Come talk to me. You can see when somebody's going through this shit. I mean, we cops, we see when people going through stuff out here in the streets, So one thing is leadership. You see a guy who's, hey, man, let me talk to you. And his friends, the first thing we hear, with suicides, well, I wish they would have told me. They were, in their actions, but the biggest thing is being a listener. Hey, man, let's go park somewhere and talk. PTSD for me, what I was going through was I felt that it made me feel like I was vulnerable. I felt vulnerable because I was hurt. You know what I'm saying? I was always, this strong guy, and I didn't want to go outside the house. If that makes sense, I want to stay in the house, because I was, hurting. I feel like I couldn't protect myself. This guy had friends out here too. You know what I'm saying? I had to deal with that shit too. It was like, this guy probably mad because, shot his buddy. So I had to deal with that too. So it was like, I just felt vulnerable, felt very, very vulnerable. And, sitting at the house soaking on it was the worst thing. Was just sitting at the house, dwelling on it.
So what's your advice? Somebody sitting around at the house is dwelling on shit.
Get the fuck out the house. Get out of the house, man. My buddy John Dale Loomis, man, he got me out the house, took me golfing. I still had this damn tube in my stomach. Man, we can come and get picking your ass up. I don't know if you can drink beer, but come and get your ass. We're getting the fuck out the house. All right. And
so far, I just want to jump in here real quick. So far, everybody I've talked to has said to me that there was one person in their life who recognized that they needed them and showed up. And if you're listening to this podcast, and we're over 1 million downloads now, and I've only been doing the podcast for about 4 or 5 months now, maybe that person's you. Maybe you should put some thought into it. And it's okay if you forgot because you have other things going on. But if you remember, just pick up the fucking phone and at least say hello, how you doing? I'm gonna come by, and whatever it is to help that you may be saving somebody's life. And don't think you're imposing. Don't feel uncomfortable about it. Just do it, because they're going to tell you later on that it was very important that you did it.
True, man. Very true.
Yeah. So you can carry on. So you can pick you up. You can go to play some golf. Did you actually play?
Yeah, I got a couple of good swings in. That Mississippi, Louisiana heat, man, it's terrible.
Ooh, I've been there.
It's horrible. But just getting out the house, being around, those walls started closing in, man. I tell you, it started closing in. My wife, she started, I love you, but I'm getting tired of you. And so she started getting irritated, and she was pregnant too. So I'm at the house. My wife's pregnant, all right? And I'm shot. So it was like, it was
I know,
she
dude.
wanted to kill me, I tell you. She wanted to kill my ass a couple of times, I'm pretty sure. So.
Well, listen, what else do you want to leave everybody with regarding your incident, what you learned from it, and what you think other people could take that I guess everything has a little bit of blessing in disguise. Hard to see it, but must be something. I think we talked a lot of good points. Anything else you want to reiterate or something we forgot about that you want to just discuss before we end this thing?
Definitely. If I can give anybody any advice, it's definitely touch upon the medical. The lives you say may be your own. Take care of your troops. That's the biggest thing. Take care of your guys. I mean, if you know how it is, we always have this patrol beef, you always have that one person you feud with or whatever. Make peace, make peace with your guys. Because, sun goes south, man, that shit gonna eat you up. Never stop training. training doesn't stop till the casket drop. That's my saying. You always train, whether it's physical. It's all up here, man. It's a thinking man's game. We got to outsmart these guys. But yeah, always train. Passion side approaches. So
yeah,
passion side approach.
Yeah, how I feel about that.
Yeah. But don't give your suspect no type of advantage. Always put them at a disadvantage. If you can, whatever, because these people they would do their best to fucking kill you. And they will if you let them. And so never think that it can't happen to you, because it can. I think I always thought worst case scenario, because I'm a huge shit magnet at the department. Like, it's just a matter of time for some fucked up shit happen to me, and it does. So it is what it is. If you're ready for it when it happens, that's one step that you can take out, because you're already waiting on it. Wear your vest. Mine didn't help me out, but wearing the sun gun. If I was a little bit taller, I've been straight. But biggest thing is never leave the house without making your peace with your family.